Hey, awubhek. Imoto ezingakanani? 2 bikes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Umuntu oyi-1 ukade imoto ezi-11 amabhayiki ayi-5. Hayi nisitshwana kabi lensi. Hayi fuck nisiweste engaka. Hayi.
Well, the postponement of budget today has rendered Parliament useless. It has got no authority because budget, whether you agree on it or not, you must bring it here so that it can be debated and ultimately adopted. So
South Africa is facing a political crisis. The national budget, one of the most important events of the year, has been postponed for the first time in history. The reason? A deeply divided coalition government that can't agree on fundamental economic policies. Some say this is the beginning of the end for the government of national unity. But is it? Let's break it all down. Welcome to Inkari. It's time. I'm Gondos, and today we're diving deep into the political turmoil that is shaking South Africa. The recent cabinet meeting meant to finalize the budget ahead of the March 12th presentation ended in deadlock. The ruling coalition is split, and opposition parties like the EFF, MK Party and ATM say this is proof that the GNU is crumbling. So, what really happened behind those closed doors? What does this mean for the country? And most importantly, should South Africans be worried? Stick around because we have a lot to unpack.
So there is no government, because if you don't adopt budget, it's clear the government has collapsed. Today we have witnessed the government of national unity, a coalition, grand coalition of DA and ANC, collapsing in front of South Africa, something that we said to all of you, that it will not last. We will never agree to increase of 2% on VAT from 15% to 17%. And that's why they are scared to come here, because it will be rejected.
The budget breakdown. What went wrong? Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana was set to present the budget, but at the last minute, it was postponed. Why? Because coalition partners couldn't agree on key policies, particularly the proposed VAT hike from 15% to 17%. The ANC argues that increasing VAT is necessary to fund essential social programs like education and healthcare. The DA, however, strongly opposed this, fearing it will hurt businesses and consumers, especially the middle class. The EFF, MK Party and ATM see this as proof that the GNU is dysfunctional and incapable of governing effectively. The cabinet meeting meant to resolve these disagreements ended in more division, showing just how unstable the coalition really is.
Mkondo sees the national officials took note of the fact that we're in the period of continued political and ideological confusion that characterizes the current so-called government of national unity. The irreconcilable differences displayed by members of the GNU during the 2025 State of Nation Address debate demonstrate the obvious fact that there is no unity and there is no possibility of unity amongst the GNU partners. Different ministers and deputy ministers attack each other and delegitimize each other and speak about government as if it is not one entity, but different competing constituencies with contradictory messages. The collapse of the country's budget process and the postponement of the budget last week is just an illustration that the GNU does not have a common program on how to efficiently and responsibly run the affairs of the state.
The cabinet meeting meant to resolve these disagreements ended in more division, showing just how unstable the coalition really is. Why this is a big deal? This isn't just a minor policy disagreement. The budget is the government's financial plan. It affects everything from social grants to public services and economic stability. A delayed budget could lead to 1. Investor panic, weakening the rand. 2. Potential downgrades by rating agencies. 3. Public backlash as social spending comes under threat.
Speaking about politics, Mr. Malema, Cabinet yesterday failed to come up with a concrete plan or to adhere to the plan that the Minister of Finance had on the budget speech that was meant to be delivered now on the 12th of March. As the EFF's view, what is your point of view with Cabinet simply failing to come up with a proposal and with a proper budget speech at this 11th hour going towards the 12th of March?
Yeah, that's a government that is disorganized. It's in disarray, and we have to accept that the GNU has failed, and they might intervene the bosses now to get them to pass the budget. But this is a clear sign of cracks, that there is nothing that can ever work going forward. We are going to be a government without a budget. It has never happened anywhere. Once you don't have a budget, you have collapsed the government. So Commissioner of SARS is making very progressive proposals and says if you increase VAT, it will not have any serious impact. But if anything, let's invest in SARS' capacity to collect the revenue. There is 800 billion which can be collected if systems are put in place. And the latest innovation is introduced at the SARS level, which is more sophisticated and has got an ability to reach every taxpayer. So those are some of the things we can look at. We can look at reducing cabinet. We can look at removing deputy ministers. And there are many other areas that we can look at and cut to complement the social program of our government, because these austerity measures, which are targeting in particular health and education, are going to plug us into serious crisis.
Is the GNU on the verge of collapse? Many analysts believe that this crisis exposes the deep cracks in the coalition. The EFF's Julius Malema has already declared that the government has collapsed. If parties can't agree on a simple budget, how will they handle bigger challenges? With elections coming in 2026, could this mean early fractures and a new political realignment? Some believe it's only a matter of time before the GNU falls apart.
Seconds. You also mentioned the issue of cabinets, that emergency meeting that is taking place today on the budget. Your expectations, your proposals, like you spoke about earlier on.
Look, the manner in which the revenue shortfalls have to be dealt with now in South Africa is primarily on three bases. One is that the manner in which we finance infrastructure development in South Africa has to fundamentally change. We need to pursue the build, operate, transfer model. There are so many interested parties from other parts of the world. Our friends in BRICS are willing to assist in the infrastructure programs, which we do not need to spend direct money on as a state. So if we do not do that, we can then be able to shift the resources to the basic needs that are needed. That is one. But two, there has to be a decisive action on dealing with tax base erosion, transfer pricing and illicit financial flows, because that phenomena continues to define South Africa's industry, and that has to be combated. It needs a decisive legislation, but also a decisive revenue collector which will not tiptoe around these multinational corporations, particularly in the resources sector, which continue to avoid taxes here in South Africa in a manner that is not sustainable, in a manner that actually cripples the fiscus of the state. The third component of what has to be dealt with has to do with the revenue leakages at municipal, provincial and national level. There has to be better and efficient systems for optimal revenue collection so that we do not have to bail out Eskom, because if Eskom were to optimally collect the revenue that is due to it, it was going to be able to sustain itself without reliance on a national fiscus. So that is basically what we're saying should happen moving forward. But we hope that there will be some solution, but we are fully opposed to the increase of value-added tax, because that is going to impact mostly on poor people who are already suffering from the high cost of living, the high cost of basic food items.
What do you think? Is this just a temporary setback, or are we witnessing the collapse of the government of national unity? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis insightful, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. We are here to break it all down and help you navigate South African politics with clarity. This is Kondos from Nkari. It's time. Stay informed, stay empowered. Thank you for watching and take care.